Hello, service learning students. The end is near. I'm on the main page of our course, and we are now in lesson 14 on Thursday. And as you can see, we have 1 week left. And in this video today, this screencast, I'm just going to hit on some of the main things to keep in mind as you submit your progress reports and your service logs, and then give a sneak preview of what to expect for next week. So as you can see, the progress reports are due by midnight on Friday, and I will go into lesson 14 here in a second and explain the process for submitting all this material. But keep that in mind. Friday is your due date for the formal progress reports. I've been reviewing your responses to the forum, the informal progress report forum, which was originally posted last week in lesson number 12, and you were supposed to submit by midnight last Monday, and a couple of people have posted a little bit late. That's understandable because we have these service projects. There's a lot of they're fluid sort of affairs, and so we have to be sort of flexible. But two things on that: please go and visit as part of the collaboration in this course. I hope that you're keeping track of the work that each other is doing. This is the fun part of the course. It should be fun anyway. Way back at the beginning of the course, several weeks ago, we workshop potential service projects. Maybe you remember that. And now at the end of the course, you should be able to see how your classmates are doing through sort of this informal progress report. And then next week when we do our class presentations, which I'll talk about in just a second. So now we're getting to the end of the service. Those of you who have been sort of keeping on track of on top of things have been having more or less some success. If you go into that informal progress report forum, you can see it's a bit of mixed bag. Not everybody has reported, so that makes me nervous. Some of you have had more or less success in meeting with your community partners and all that sort of stuff. But we'll see how it goes. But so far, so good. Let's go ahead and click into our lesson number 14, and I'll go over a few items for today. So as you can see, I've got some lengthy notes here for you, just basically reiterating what I'm saying here. There really is the primary thing you should be working on for today's lesson and having your eye on Friday is submitting these formal progress reports. So there's detailed instructions in today's lessons for how to submit your formal progress report. If you click on the link for the formal progress report, it'll open the assignment drop box, and all you have to do is follow the instructions there. But it does say, please take a look, review the handout that was posted in Unit 3, and make sure you understand what the requirements are for this project. So let me go over that very briefly. So I've clicked into Unit 3, the main unit, and I've clicked on the resources for your progress reports, and we have the main progress report handout, and there's a video here that I posted at the beginning of this unit and going into quite a bit of detail about the actual handout. That came from a previous semester when we did this course. And of course there are student examples, so you should have a lot of material here to show you how this final progress report should look. There were some real problems with your proposals for students not following instructions and not being very complete. So very, very quickly, let me just stress this as you're turning in your final progress report. There are explicit instructions in the handout. There are two main parts to this report outside of your service logs. The first part is your service journal. You should have been doing these journal activities as you've been completing your service, so you shouldn't be doing this all at the last minute. But these journals, there's a certain sort of pattern that I want you to follow. I ask you to think about sort of reflecting before you start your service, and then how to go through the service, and then a certain number of entries. There's specified entries. Entry 1 has this pre-service checklist and all that. Entries 2 through 5 respond to at least 4 significant experiences in service. by completing the triple entry log. All I'm saying is you should be following some of the exercises from this book as part of your journal exercise. So if you're not following these exercises because they ask you to be very complete and detailed, this is an area where you might lose points. These are your journal entries. I can't grade them, yes, right or wrong, because they're your experiences. Grammar, writing errors, and things like that can be an area where we might take off some points. But mostly people who do not do well on the progress report, which really should be an easy grade for you, is they just don't complete the instructions fully, okay? So make sure you do the required number of entries. Make sure you follow the instructions. There's a certain number of these entries, 6 through 10, that are basically open-ended. Please include dates. Be very specific in what you're doing. And then you have the final reflection. And the final reflection asks you to go to page 145 in your text. And basically here we're aiming towards that deep reflection, right? Assessing your journey and how to think about where you've been with your final reflection. In chapter 6 from the text, you may not remember this, but you did a quiz on chapter 6 on reflective writing, and you answered on the quiz some of the skills involved in deep reflection, so that it's reflection that doesn't just chronicle and identify what happened, but has some sort of learning component where you think back and you think about what was significant about that experience. And if you think about that, they used the acronym, the DEAL approach towards deep reflection. And so what you want to do is aim in that last part to really think of some reflection, not just for this report, but for our final week, which I'm going to talk about here in just a second. So all these reflective activities are very important. Use the instructions as a template. Use it as inspiration for sort of really digging in deep and thinking about your service experience. That's what we really want to have happen there. Now, the other major assignment that's due by Friday is your actual service logs. And I want to stress this especially. So the Community Partner Service Log is located in Unit 3, the main folder of Unit 3. And you'll notice it's a Word document that you download and then you fill out completely. And we should have gone over this in previous videos, and I've stressed this in previous lessons, but it's worth repeating here. This is very important because this is how we verify that you've actually completed the service. So you should fill this out as completely as possible. For each of the service community service partners, these are people that can verify that you completed your hours, and they can sign the form, and you need to be very complete, and you need to put the dates, and you need to fill one of these out. This is just a blank handout. Use it as much as you need to model whatever verification you can to sort of show that you've done your service project. So that's the basic goal here. So now let's go to our actual unit or lesson 14. And you'll see that there is a direct link to the service log submission, okay? And it says a complete detailed signed log. It should be submitted, and this is where we run into some details that we need to make sure that we complete these fully. So, first of all, know this. If you do not complete the service log, or if you cheat on the service log, that means you will fail this part of the course. You will fail this part of the assignment. I will not grade your progress report, your formal progress report, until I have the service log completed and checkmarked in this assignment area. You can't pass the assignment, you can't pass the course without the service log, okay? And so, you know, there's a formula that is applied that you should see in the final handout, which we'll be spending more time on next week. But the formula is such that basically you're supposed to complete 15 hours of service. If you have not completed those 15 hours, and this happens all the time with students, that's fine. Not everybody does perfect on every assignment. So there's a formula that reduces the final point totals in your final report by a certain number, for each hour that you miss. So your goal is 15 hours, and if you're short of those 15 hours, there's a bit of a penalty. But you should be honest on these forms. I will contact the community partners and the numbers that you have on the form if I'm able to do that. And so 2 things you need to make sure that you do. Be honest with the number of hours that you suggest that you completed, because I will try and verify that. And don't cheat. Don't make up a community service partner or whatever. Those are the sort of things that lead to academic dishonesty, and that's an automatic failure in the course. Just be honest. I've had students who've completed a portion of their service, half of their service. They've still been able to pass the course. Obviously, the more hours you do, the more you have to write about, the more points you'll earn in that final report. So make sure that you follow those instructions carefully. With the service log, you download it, you print it off, you complete it. You get the final copy to me by attaching it to this assignment handout, assignment Dropbox. You can take a picture of it and send it to me. You can scan it with a printer or something like that and attach it as a PDF document here. You can fill out we need the signatures. That's the main thing, is we need sort of the written signatures from your verified partners so that we know that you actually completed the hour. So somehow you need to get that material to me. These are both due by Friday at midnight. Now, I said in today's lesson notes, if you have extenuating circumstances, and this happens for many students, you're wrapping up your service, you've got one more day, you need through Monday or something like that, fine. Contact me. Make arrangements with me. I'm happy to give you some time to finish this documentation of your service. It's very important. So just communicate with me. Otherwise, if you don't submit it by Friday, I will start contacting you and trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, wrapping up here. Now this is my pep talk. So in today's lesson, you'll notice that I've asked you to take a look at chapters 13 and 14 in service learning. Just as with last lesson, I'm not having you do any quizzes or activities with those elements because I want you to focus on completing your service work and your service logs. We do have our final Friday forum. You need to post responses by Friday and then complete your final reflection on Behold the Dreamers by next Friday. So you have a week to complete that, but you need to do the initial reporting to the Friday forum. This is our final Friday forum by Friday. The other thing that you can start doing is, I hope I've stressed enough now that the service logs and the progress report is the most important thing to be focusing on. But for next week, our final week, it says here in your notes, on Monday we will go over the final activities, and that's what we will do. I have opened the materials in Unit 4. You should be able to view all those, including the handout, but I will post a video and go into much more detail about that final report handout next week. This is very important to understand. There are 2 remaining assignments in the course. Our final report and our final presentation. If we're on campus for this class, and this is a very common activity for the FYI courses, it's part of the outcome that we talked about in the very first day of the class, is that there should be some presentations, some public presentations going on. And the way that we're going to accomplish this is in our forums. You will be sharing in your forums written responses, videos, whatever you want to document your service. Those instructions will be posted next week. It should be very clear. But next week is really the culmination of all the hard work you've been doing all semester. I know it's a lot of stuff going on, but actually, if you have been following along throughout the course, and I'll stress this more next week, we're going to open our final lessons on Monday, basically, and you have the rest of the week to complete this final report and celebrate your work in the course. If you have done the proposal, the progress reports, assembled all this material, the final report is really nothing more than putting together all that material, updating it, refreshing it, and it should be actually very easy, and it should be fun. It should be an opportunity for you to finally say, I did this thing, and I'm reporting it and sharing it with my classmates, and it's an important sort of achievement. So that's what we'll talk about next week. Tune in on Monday for the final video and the final lessons. Keep going. Contact me if you have any questions.